know what types of content to create every week to create a consistent flow of clients and cash flow into your business. Let's talk about the different styles of content that you can use under those types that are going to help you generate more of a personalized feed, more of a personalized content strategy, and start to find your standout brand presence. Now, what we need to think about is that with these different styles of content, some of them are better for reach, some of them are better for nurturing, some of them are better for conversion, and I'll highlight each of those as we go through. But we also want to be thinking about shareable and savable content to make the algorithm like our posts and put them out in front of more people. So I will highlight each of these styles for you and with their intentions as we go through. So let's break down the styles, and then with the styles, you're going to see examples of each of these. You can pull from these and make them your own. These are some of my best performing posts from Instagram that had great reach, great engagement, and great conversion. Okay, so you can go ahead and check those out. I won't be going through them here in the training because it'll take up way too much time. I just really want to hit on these different styles, how you can do them, and what the intention is for them, and what what we are using them for. So brand and offer awareness. This is more of a conversion style piece of style of content. So this is where we're building awareness around our offers. So we want to be thinking about exactly what we talked about in the marketing funnel is how can these offer, or how can this content build awareness around my offer? How can it handle objections? How can it make people understand this is the right offer for them? How can it break down the differences between my offers? How can it let them know that this is the right program for them? What can they expect, right? So when we're thinking about the different type of buyer types, you want to speak to the emotions. What are the fears? What are the desires? What are the outcomes? What will the experience be like inside? When we speak to the logical buyer, what results have people had? What can they respect? What are they going to go through? What is the methodology that you take them through? Right? When we're thinking about the people who are buying from a place of like wanting to be in connection and community with other people, or is this a group program? Do you need to be highlighting that it's a group program? So this is where we build brand and offer awareness. Some different styles that styles that you can use under brand offer awareness are the showroom post, signs it's time to join my offer, how to know if the program is right for you, what to expect when you join or buy. You could also include results that clients have had inside of this program, my personal experience moving through the with trainings that I'm teaching in here, all of that. And this is where you're going to make people aware that this offer even exists and help them see if it's the right fit for them. You can also handle objections. This is done with like frequently asked questions. If you're scared to join the Rich, Resilient, and Regulated program because you wonder if this is actually going to work for you, then you need to read this, something like that. How my client will go into testimonials are other really great way to do this. So next we have the personality post. The personality post is like, oh, I like that person. I like the way they think. I like the way they behave. I like the way they view things. They remind me of me, or I see myself in them, or I want to be like them. And we do this through positioning our content where we share like how I think about this thing that I teach, or how I respond when people do this, right? And all of this needs to be relative to the offers that you have, the results that you're selling, the problems that you're solving. This shouldn't just be random shit. However, it can be occasionally, a small percentage of the time, it can be just like random stuff, but you need to get really good at the copywriting, which we'll talk about is like how to turn everything into content, where you'll be able to be like, okay, like this experience happened in my life. I could share about this. This would be like a storytelling one almost. When you're going to see that there's overlap in these, like there's overlap in a lot of these, but it could be like a storytelling post where you share about a TV show that you watched and an epiphany that you had while you were watching, or how it related to something that you teach, and how if your client has this mindset shift too from using the tools that you teach, how they'll be able to get the results that you're offering and have the desires that they want for their life, have that desired transformation, have that identity that they're moving towards. So the personality post is like, I like her, she thinks like me, or she does what I want to do. Right? That's what I want you to think about with the personality posts. These are great for the nurturing phase. These are the nurturing pieces of content that are building the like and the trust with your audience. Okay. Next, we have educational. Educational is going to be a huge piece of your content strategy, but educational doesn't always have to be like the 3 things you need to know to get this. Like it should not be, it shouldn't be a textbook. All right. This can be like a little mini masterclass where you even teach someone, where you highlight your framework and you bring them through that, or questions to ask themselves, or a perspective shifting post. So when we do education, it doesn't have to be like the step-by-step. Sometimes it can be a perspective shifting post. Sometimes it can be a reframe. Sometimes it can be a self-reflection. You can even do educational, obviously, with storytelling or a personality post or a brand or offer awareness post. The 5 steps you need to take to get X result. And then this is what we do inside of our program. Last slide is a presentation of your program. So there's lots of way to do educational. We also want to think about edutainment posts. These are great for reels where you're like entertaining and you're doing little things or you make it funny. And again, when we get into the marketing archetypes, you'll be like, oh, I'm kind of like more of the everyday girl or the comic. This might be a really great way for me to do that, is more of that edutainment type of content. Okay. So these are some examples that you can use for educational. I have tons on my feed. Please feel free to go look, study, and use that in your own way. Please do not copy or plagiarize. Everything that I'm giving you here is simply for educational purposes. This is my intellectual property, and it is not meant to be copied or used or plagiarized in any way. Please make these your own. Okay. It won't land the same either if you just copy my content. It's not going to land the same. So you want to make it your own. Next, we have inspirational and relatable. These are great for reach. These are great reach. This is great reach content. So how can I get in front of more heartbeats? These are really great ways to do that. This is also content that will get shared or saved. And that's great for the algorithm. So daily reminders for your ideal client, inspire the possibility. You'll see what I mean when you click on that post, how it feels when you're doing this. I don't know who needs to hear this, but can we normalize this? Things like that. So you're going to see all examples there. Let's pause here, and I want to make an important note. Study the content that you consume. Self-awareness is everything. When you are when you are consuming content, ask yourself, why did I click on that? Why did I read that? Why did I buy that? Literally, I just gave you $12,000 worth of value in those 3 words. If you do that, you will have insane levels of awareness around what to do to create content that's going to land for your ideal clients, because we are not unique little butterflies. People's psychology is the same. This is why marketing works so well, is because this is why hooks and CTAs are pretty universal across the board. We make them our own through our personality and our brand voice, but like they work because they work. So pay attention to what's working on you. All right. So next we have motivational. These are great for sharing. A couple things here. This is your signpost, what it takes. This is like also a brand awareness. Like it'd be like, this is your sign to join the Rich, Resilient, and Regulated program. And then you could share that. Or like, this is your sign to start regulating your nervous system. And then in the caption, you could talk about the Rich, Resilient, Regulated program. That would be my content, obviously, but like just for an example. This is what it takes. You can look at that. Again, these 2 pieces right here are great for reach. And so using trending audios with this is going to be really powerful for, so finding like those motivational audios or like those inspirational audios, paying attention to what's trending and then putting your twist on it for your brand and your offers is going to be super powerful. Next, we have testimonial, client case studies, and your social proof. I have tons here. I have tons of social proof. You want to do this in different ways. It shouldn't just be like, you know, here's a testimonial from my client where it's the testimonial and they're speaking and it's like, It's like, there's a time and a place for that one. But we also need to have different ways to present these testimonials to our audience, because this is something that you should be creating weekly, honestly, in some form or fashion, or incorporating it into your copy of like, oh, this is the result my client had, or these are the results my clients had, or here's an actual post just around testimonials or client case studies or my own social proof. People want to know other people are getting results. People want to know that people like them can get results too. And so they see that not always through you, but through the pure clients who are like them and at the same point on the journey on you. Sometimes we are too far ahead for people to identify with us completely. and they need a little bit more of someone who's closer to where they are to see that they're getting the results, or that the program was effective for them, or that they enjoyed their experience working with you, or whatever. It doesn't always have to be like this huge fucking breakthrough that they have. It can simply just be that they felt so met and seen in that container that they feel completely motivated and resilient to move forward and get their results, because that's like a huge piece of growth in every level, right? So we can highlight that too. So make sure that you're celebrating your clients, make sure you're using your own social proof, and these are some ways that you can do that. Next, we have leadership and embodiment. Leadership and embodiment is where we show that we are self-led in our own growth process, whether it's in business, relationships, health, whatever, that we are leading ourselves through that, how we're leading ourselves through that, and then also that we are the embodiment of the work. So what I do when I hit the same obstacle that my client's hitting, how do I lead myself through that? How do I embody the tools and the methods that I'm teaching? What you saw versus what you didn't see. So like, how are people perceiving you, but they're not actually understanding, like there was challenges and adversities that you led yourself through that are very similar to the challenges and adversities that they face, but how did you lead yourself through them? How are you the embodiment of your work? How are you a leader? How are you stepping up to call out things in the industry, in your niche, that you think are bullshit, and you want to move people to a more healthy or conducive way of doing things? Call it out, share about it. This is where expression is going to come into play. This is where you standing in your power is going to come into play. Leadership and embodiment posts are very, very powerful. These are also the nurturing. This is nurturing content. This is not conversion content. This is nurturing content. And this nurturing content can be also conversion content when you do it from your power and you do it with confidence. The posts that are spicy, that call things out, where you state your opinions, where you state a polarizing, or that's the other style here, but it can be a bit polarized and there's some crossover here, but where you exemplify the leadership, you exemplify the embodiment, you call out things that you think are bullshit. You stand in your power as a leader, as somebody who's a thought leader, a visionary, a powerhouse in the space. This is going to lead to people being like, damn, I want to work with her. I want to be in her world. I want to be in that. I want to be that same leader to myself. Okay. Next, we have lifestyle. I don't have a lot of examples from my own feed for this because my archetype isn't really lifestyle. I share more of the lifestyle in my stories to let people see how I'm living, how I live my life, to get to know me, to come into my house, to see what I'm doing with my kid, and like how we're eating and where we're going and things like that. But lifestyle for you might be a huge part of your personal brand and your archetype, your marketing archetype, and what you're offering and what you're selling. So that might be more on your feed. But some of this can include just documenting your lifestyle and then relating it back to your ideal client's desires to establish connection through shared lifestyle choices. So if you're speaking to moms and you are like homeschooling and you're doing something with your kid that day in homeschooling, and there was something that came up and there's an opportunity for a leadership post, you can share the lifestyle post of like, this is me homeschooling my kid, or this is how I set up the classroom today, or this was the assignment that we did, and this is how I presented it. But then there was also this lesson that we learned, and it relates to how you can make it a teachable moment for your clients and how it helps you be the mom that you're teaching them to be, right? Whatever it is. So that was just an example, but there are tons of ways to do this. It's actually one of the easiest styles of content. Next, we have storytelling. And let me go back here. Lifestyle is nurturing. Next, we have storytelling. Storytelling can be conversion or nurturing. This is where we just basically use stories to teach lessons or present our solutions and what is possible for the client through stories of our life or even client stories. Some of these that I like is like, the easiest way I think about storytelling is what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. Storytelling is the heroine's journey. It's like, where did you start? What challenge did you face? What did you learn from it? Then how can you guide? This is where it cuts off, is how can you guide and make your client the main character in that story? So it's like you present what you learn from the experience, and then you stop, and we're going to do a whole copywriting training on this, so don't worry. But then you stop and you become the guide to teach to use the lesson to move your client to the result that they're looking for, to help them get to the place where they feel empowered to make the decision to change. Okay. Storytelling is a practice. It's an art. It takes time to learn. Some of us are very naturally good at it. As women, it's a magic that we have. So I highly suggest using this in your marketing, and playing around with getting really fucking good at it. So here are some ones here, and also just to break down like what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. It can be like this for you too, is kind of the way my brain structures that down to make it super simple. Next, we have polarizing. So polarizing is a thing where it's like you're saying something that's a bit controversial. You're going against the grain. You're stating an opposing belief to what's typically shared in your niche. Things I disagree with, against the grain, the biggest myth, you call it out. Polarizing is really powerful, but you have to be ready for people to disagree with you. So again, let's say you are the rebel marketing archetype, polarizing is going to be very big for you. And it can be a great way to actually get reach and convert in both ways, because it'll bring people in. They're like, oh, I like what she's talking about. I think this way too. I want to hire her, what she's selling, right? That's going to be there's going to be a big jump in polarizing from like reach to convert. But again, if you're saying something that's polarizing, we need to be in a place where we're in our power and in our resilience, and in like we're confident in who we are and what we believe, and we're not going to get discouraged or dysregulated, or we're willing to work through the dysregulation and discouragement that happens if people don't agree with us and they decide to openly share that in the comments of our post. So it's not something to be scared of. It's something to run toward and be open to experiencing, because it is part of being a human. Even when you're not trying to be polarizing, you're going to be polarizing, because you're just not for everyone. And especially if we're creating content that's not for everyone, as we should be, then you're going to just accidentally put a polarizing post up, because there's always going to be people that disagree with you. So I would actually embrace it and run towards it and be like, okay, I'm just going to go full out on this. Next, we have personality. So like, why should somebody like you? This is this is a nurturing this is a nurturing style of content. So like, how can you help them see that? Let me introduce myself. Who am I? I think this way. This is how I behave. These are the things I like. All of that. You're going to see a lot more of this coming through as I'm focusing more on personal branding, where the personality is coming through in my content more, because I was focusing more on the nurturing and conversion content and reach content for a while. Now I'm going to be moving more towards personality and personal branding and really amplifying that. So you'll see more of this come through in my content. So if you want to study it, you can pay attention. Bold and blunt, tough love. This is where you just call your clients out on the shit that's holding them back. Like, don't be scared. These are some examples of how to do that. These posts get tons of reach, and they also get tons of this hits threefold. This hits threefold. Next, we have sales posts. These are conversion. We're going to talk about sales copywriting, but these are examples of how you can do this. And in each of these, I have written sales copy. So feel free to go in and click on the links and look at those and be like, oh, I see what she's doing there, and study it, right? So sales posts are a mix of problem awareness, desire awareness. We're handling objections. We are answering questions. We are positioning. We are presenting. We are inviting. There are so many things that we are doing with sales posts, and these are just a few examples of them. Next, we have time relevance. These are great for reach, because they're going to be relevant to the time that it's happening. So let's say it's Mother's Day, you write a Mother's Day post. It's Halloween, you write a Halloween post. It's Thanksgiving, it's the holidays, it's Black Friday, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. That's where you create some type of educational or problem awareness or inspirational or whatever piece of content, and you make it relevant to the time. This is really important. So if you're somebody who's spiritual and does like full moon, new moon, anything around that, astrology, there's so many opportunities to do this all the time. And a lot of your content is going to be primarily included with the time relevance factor. This is also a great piece of content that you can answer, like, why now? Why should someone join your offer now? And it can be a conversion piece of content. Next, we have problem awareness. These are great for nurturing reach and conversion. This is where we're making people problem aware of like what is holding them back from getting what they want, or what do they not know that's holding them back from getting what they want. And these are some examples of that. And we're going to do a lot more of this in the copywriting problem agitate solve training. Okay. So now let's talk about how to build trust to increase client attraction. So what your feed should look like. So if we're looking at your Instagram feed, it should be primarily value, AKA nurturing post, and then some reach, right? So we want to have reach value. We want to have the value where we're nurturing, and then we want to have a little bit of personality and maybe a story post, like a personal brand post and a personality post. But primarily, your feed should be around reach and nurture, and those are value. Okay, so think about it like this: your IG becomes a podcast that someone just found today. They can binge for a week when they first find you. Okay, they'd be like, oh my God, she's talking about everything I want to hear about, and it's very specific around the problems that I'm having and the results that I'm trying to achieve. I want to read everything here. So study yourself. When you find a podcast like that you listen to forever, why did you do it? Why did you binge the content? Your profile should not look like this: value, random quote, story, random quote, personality, generic self-help advice, story, picture of your flash sale. That's not what it should look like. Pay attention to the feeds that you look at. They're like, oh, damn, like I'm binging this content I bought from this person, and study it and then apply that to yours as well. And you have a complete breakdown here of exactly how to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Print out the styles of content, write them down, put this in make sure your PDF is saved from the big book of content that converts, so that you can come back to this and look at these examples and study them. And I will meet you in the next.